Okay, so this is part 2 of the golf exercise getting in shape videos. If you haven't seen part 1, there's a link right there at the top. If you can't see that, there's a link at the bottom. So in that first video, Ben took me through basically kind of what we're going to do here. We did some practice swings. They've captured some basic data. Today, or this piece, which was done the same day, I'm going to spend some time with Ambrose Coleman, who's Director of Biomechanics. And Ambrose is basically going to check my strength, which is kind of what I wanted to see. So this is really interesting stuff. Check it out.
Let's go through a quick history. Tell me a little bit about what you have going on.
Okay, golf history or physical history?
So let's talk about background, actually. Let's talk about sports growing up.
Okay, played a lot of tennis, all the way through college. Played a lot of basketball, was not good enough to play in college.
What sport is your first love?
Oh, I'd have loved to have been a baseball player.
Okay.
But I didn't have the speed to be a baseball player. Okay. And then come to find out, I also didn't have the speed to be a pro tennis player either. There's a point in life where you go, oh, there's people way, way better than me. And that was my freshman year of college. So, so at that point, I realized I was not going to be the next John McEnroe, and I better learn something else. But I played golf my whole life. We were actually talking yesterday. I remember when I was so excited that I could hit 2 shots to where my dad's tee shot was. So nice. I was a little bitty, yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
And about 8 years ago, I was at my buddy Dickie's house. I was in charge of grilling, and I had a cigar in one hand and a scotch in the other hand.
Nice.
It was a perfect evening.
Okay.
But we had those little stackable plastic chairs. I sat on a chair and it shot out from under me. I landed on my hip and I got a ginormous bruise on my hip.
Okay.
And my hip just got worse and worse and worse. Well, come to find out, I had very significant hip issues that just sort of showed me. I had always kind of dealt with a little bit of pain. So I saw a doctor. He said I would have been 51 probably at the time.
How old are you right now?
59. I'll be 60 in 90 days. So we got 90 days to make this happen.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
So at 51, I was diagnosed that I was going to need a hip replacement.
Okay.
But his comment to me was they'll last 12 to 14 years before you'll need another one. So let's put it off as long as you could. So I took steroid shots every 6 months for several years. Just dealt with pain. Didn't realize how much pain I was dealing with.
Right.
And finally, last fall, I couldn't sleep. Just got that bad. Golf game progressively got worse. I changed things. Was obviously not as loose. Lost 20 miles an hour off my club head speed, which, part of that's getting to be 59 years old too, but a lot of it was loss of muscle mass and loss of flexibility. And had my hip replaced the last Monday of October last year. So November, December, January.
Perfect.
June. So I'm 8 months post. Did pre-physical therapy and post-physical therapy. Around
that was really helpful.
Yeah, the pre, by the way, guys, anybody who's considering hip replacement, I'll tell you 2 things. Number one, if they told me I had to replace the other one, I would ask them if we could do it next week. There's no reason to put it off. It's a crappy couple of weeks, but to live with no pain, as you and I described, I got no pain now. And the other thing is, I'm so happy I did the pre-physical therapy to get my core stronger before I did that.
Yeah. The literature is overwhelming. If you are stronger going in, you're going to be stronger and better coming in.
And right? I was significantly so. I went from a walker to walking. No cane, nothing. So
the things that you explained is a concept that we look at. Protection and performance go hand in hand. They both down one. Okay? So as your body is starting to try to protect itself, you'll notice that you're in more pain, performance starts to drop down. So that's a fail-safe mechanism. It just wants to survive, right? But again, from a protection mechanism, if we start to improve the way your body is functioning, becoming more efficient, then your performance starts to come up, right? And so it doesn't matter what age you are, right? That process, that phenomenon actually occurs no matter what. Right. So this is a good time for you. Make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Okay, cool. All right, so I like that. That gave me a lot of background information that I need. And so now what we're going to do is let's go through some of the physical movement stuff so I can see and feel how your joints and your body move.
Okay. This worries me. This is when they keep chuckling that he has a table in here.
Absolutely. Don't worry, you're in good hands. Right? Like
We're
a
from
good
the government,
neighbor, right? Just
yeah,
trust these.
we're from the government and we're here to help.
that may be a little bit of malinformation, disinformation, misinformation, everything.
Wow.
All right, so what we're going to do here, you just basically lay there and relax. I'm going to check a couple of things here. Any sensitivity or tenderness here?
Believe it or not, the right hip where you put your thumb.
And what about here on the left side?
You know, a little bit,
Okay.
but mostly around the incision site. Otherwise, no.
And there's going to be some scar tissue.
Yep, there is.
So, okay.
So any of you who've been through physical therapy know exactly what he's doing. He's checking to see what my flexibility is, and he's measuring it so we have a benchmark to go forward with. And we do this for probably about 15 minutes. He looks at a little bit of everything here.
So I had you line your toes up. Immediately as you went into that movement, you start to go here. So
With the left side.
With the left side. So we can see the pattern of that knee actually starts to go in because the muscles on the inner thigh start to overwork. They're trying to compensate for the lack of strength on that outside. So that's important for us to see that, right? Because your left leg, your lead leg, being a right-handed golfer, we need to produce about 90% of your force on that lead side leg. And if you can't put that force on that leg, we have a problem.
Got it.
Right?
That doesn't surprise me in the least. Yeah.
All right, so now what we can do is we can take each individual muscle group, which is extremely valuable insight for us, and then we can actually measure that. So basically what you'll see is as we're going here, this is called a force curve, right? And so it measures how much force we actually apply with this particular unit. So what I want to do now is go through these individual muscles. We'll probably do just your 5 basic muscles that's going to really be, that matters the most for you as a golfer.
Okay.
And then we'll be able to see the differences between the left and the right.
All right.
Okay. So this is really good. We got you set up. Now what I want you to do is apply as much force as you can. Keep your body on the ground. Hold that for 1 second and then lift up.
Okay.
All right, here we go. And rest. Nice. And we'll get 3 reps total. And go.
Oh, I lifted up.
No problem. No problem. Good. And push. Perfect. All right, here we go. Keep your body on the ground. Go ahead and press that as hard as you can. Maximum effort. Good. Lift up. And go. Lift up. Last one. All right, that's pretty good. I like that. Okay. So now what you'll do is we're going to squeeze both knees together at the same time. Okay. And we'll get 3 reps. All right, go forward. And rest. Now we have some good data. All right. It's kind of like your pain brings me pleasure. So that's what it is. You thought it was about you, but it really isn't.
This sounds a lot like a marriage.
Nice.
Holy cow.
Yeah. So this is important for us.
Hold on.
All right. So, now we separated each individual muscle. So glutes, hamstrings, glute knee, adductors, quads. What we want to see is.
All right, real quick, for those of us who don't do what you do, show us those 5 muscles.
Yeah, absolutely. So glute max, butt cheeks, glute knee, lateral hip, hamstrings, back of the thigh, adductors, inside the thigh, and then your quads are the front of your thigh, right? So those are your primary, muscles in the lower body that you're going to use in the golf swing. So we individualize those muscle groups. And so, what we typically like to see is the difference in between the output, not to be super far off, right? So we don't want to see it outside the 15% range, okay? Now, being that you're a rotational...
Oh, so I and B is the difference between the 2?
Yes,
okay.
Correct, right? So, and really one of the things that happen is sometimes we allow that percentage to be different just because you're a rotational athlete. And so if we're having a basketball or football or baseball athlete, well, not baseball, but, say like a soccer athlete, we don't want to see those imbalances beyond 15%. Now, with a rotational athlete, because that pattern is exactly the same, we one side is going to work a little bit different than the other side. So we can but we have the normative data, and so what's consistent from, a male to female athlete, so we know what range that should be. Okay. However, when we see this, that's outside of the range. That range isn't clear for us, right? We don't want that. Okay. So obviously now we look at the output. We have 188 on the right side, and then on the left side, 96. Your words where this feels, twingy or tweaky, right? Like you just can feel that muscle struggling to produce force, right? And that's what we want to see. Again, when you were in your golf swing, you never really came out of this bent position as you got over to your lead side leg. That's why I asked you, hey, do you have any pain with that side? You were like, no pain, I'm great. And you didn't. However, though, the strength level and the output isn't where we need it to be. If anything, we need this flip. If this was flipped, I would be A-okay. That's an imbalance that, I still wouldn't probably win at 65%, but if it was set at that level, I still would be okay with that. Make sense? Because 90% of your body weight needs to get over into that lead side leg.
And I can't do that.
So you are not able to do that. Right? And so we need to clean that up. Right? Especially when you're not having any pain. So I love that. The other thing is when we look at the glute med, we basically this muscle here, so your lateral hips, that's going to allow you to basically shift a little bit. We can start to see basically this output is at 6%, which is a great imbalance or difference between the ratio. I'm not going to say imbalance, but the difference between the ratio of 50 and 53. From an output standpoint, that's really good, okay? However, for your body weight, being that you weigh 192 pounds, okay? So we take 67% of your body weight. That gives us about 140, 145, okay? So that's a baseline of where this output should be. So you can see how far off we are.
I got no leg strength anymore. No butt strength.
That's going to prevent you from being able to drive the ball, right? And so create that consistency. It's all about repeatability with that golf swing. So that's really what we look at. So when we look at the glute max and hamstring, we want to see that glute max to be 20 to 30% higher in output compared to the hamstring. So from here to here, those ratios look pretty good. I'm good with that ratio. I still would like for you to be within, a 225, 250 would be amazing, right? From just the durability, protecting your back, protecting your knees, protecting your hips. So those are a lot of little things that we look at when we measure this output. Make sense?
Yep.
Okay. Question.
Okay, so pause. So the thing that jumps out at me, Ambrose, why do we see on the abductors and the hamstrings it appears my left side stronger than my right side?
Yeah, because you're a right-handed golfer, so when you post up and you put 90% of your body weight into your left leg, that lead side leg, those output percentages need to be higher to manage the force that's coming from that backswing, right? So that you can get up and out of the ground. So we definitely, again, want to see those percentages to be higher for you. Now, if you're a left-handed golfer, obviously we want that flipped.
Okay.
So, when we look at sport performance, it's about muscles and bones and the joints and the mobility. All of those are going to be dedicated to the demand of the sport.
Okay.
So that's a really good question, though.
So the $1 million question is, how do we fix that?
Oh, that's an easy thing. So basically,
it's a pill, right?
Yes, absolutely. There's a premium for that pill, right? So with this one, it's about link change, right? So basically, your body works as a system, a biomechanical chain. So really, it's dependent on the muscle length. And then from there, how much leverage can you produce? That determines how much force that muscle can activate at the right time, at the right magnitude, control the right joints. So really, we're going to change the muscle length. Things are too tight right now for you. We're going to stretch those out a little bit. That's going to allow the range of motion and mechanics to change the position, because for us, as golfers, position equals power. So we want to change the muscle length that'll allow your mobility to come there, and then you have access to more muscle force and velocity. So, and that's really what we want, right? Velocity is just speed in a certain direction. So we don't want you on that angular direction, right? And so we want to be able to turn left. And so that's really what we're going to work on. That's an easy thing for us to clean up.
Okay.
Okay, so that's exactly what I wanted to know, right? I knew I had lost strength, but I had no way to measure it that I knew of. And I had no way now to measure going forward my performance. And as those of you who know, who work out a lot, that's one of the frustrating things. You're trying to lose weight, right? And you go 2 weeks and you don't lose any weight. There's nothing you're measuring. And it may be you're putting on muscle and losing fat. And it just doesn't, it doesn't feel like you're making progress. Here, with Ambrose's help, we have benchmarks set, and we can now track them as we go through the next 90 days leading up to me turning 60. And even if I'm not hitting the ball further immediately or even in the near term, hopefully we'll see progress. So the next 2 videos will be Ben going through my swing analysis. So he's going to take that first out and walk us through what he sees to see if there's kind of low-hanging fruit, easy fixes. I know I'm getting way too deep, and I know I'm doing that because I'm not making a full shoulder and hip turn. I'm sure he's going to talk about that. But then we're also going to go through what Ambrose and I talk about right after this, which is the exercises to both strengthen my muscles, which of course, as you know, when you strengthen a muscle, you shorten it, but also to elongate those muscles, which I'm assuming is going to be some form of stretches and other exercises, so that I get the flexibility and the strength to help me with daily living, my tournament fishing, and my golf. So those will be the next 2 videos in this series. And as I mentioned to you guys, we're on our way. Actually, when you see this video, we'll be at Rayburn. We got some boat reviews. We're going to fish with some buddies down there. We're going to have some really good stuff next week. I can tell you right now, Thursday morning's trip, even if we don't catch anything, will be hysterical, because I've got guide Brian Branham, and you guys remember Jim Jones, the guy who did the dance with the bee at Toledo Bend. Jim will be in the boat with us. And there's not been a time I've been in the boat with Jim Jones when I didn't laugh hysterically at something. So stick around. A lot of fishing coming over the next couple of weeks, and also some more of this golf/fitness stuff as well. I appreciate you guys watching, and I hope you're enjoying. Thanks, guys.